Did you know that podcasting is one of the most powerful ways to amplify your voice, your message, and your visibility? Then you are in for a special treat, my friend, because Shann Vander Leek is an award-winning podcaster with over 13 million downloads. She knows her stuff. I have been personally connected. I have to say she's one of my dearest friends, so let's get that right out. We have been connected since probably 2009, maybe even earlier, and working together for well over a decade. All my projects, she's my voiceover queen. She helps me with my podcast. She is my go-to podcast expert. So to have Shann here with me today in this series, I am thrilled, but you're going to be in for a big thrill too. So let me tell you a little bit about Shann before we dive in. Shann is the founder of Podcast Bath Media Services, an award-winning podcaster, as I shared, celebrating 13 million downloads. Since 2014, Shann has been coaching entrepreneurs like me and like you through the podcast creation process. You know, she makes it so easy to understand. So if you're afraid of any of it, Shann's your gal, because I was one of those people. She also records promotional voiceovers and audiobooks. Shann's the resonant voice that you hear introducing all of my shows and some other projects, as well as New York Times bestselling author and another friend, Kristine Carlson's podcast. Be sure to explore her on-demand podcast training course for tech-shy coaches, authors, and creatives. Hey, gorgeous.
Hey, Linda, thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this wonderful event.
Well, you know that, and you've taught me about the power of podcasting, right? About using our voice. And one of the things I've always loved about you and the people I refer to you is a lot of people are really nervous, right? They're like, I don't understand the tech. I don't know what to do. So they stop in their tracks of bringing their message and voice to life because they're afraid of the hows. And I always tell my clients, don't focus on the hows, just set your vision and take one small step at a time. So today you're going to be talking about 7 steps to create your podcast in 30 days. Come on, everybody, that's doable. So let's dive into that because, you know, you are all about empowering women, especially to use their voice.
I sure am. And my intention is to help as many women as possible amplify their voices and grow their reach with the podcast. And the reason why podcast, is you get access to an engaged audience, you establish authority in your field of interest, and of course, you can also generate revenue with the podcast. And it's fun.
It is. I got to say, it is fun. I still love it, and I'm about to go into my 8th year hosting the Inspired Conversations radio show, and I still enjoy it as much now as the day one. And something you said too is it enhances your authority. I have had the most extraordinary guests on my show, and I don't even. Along with boosting your authority, I have made so many beautiful peer relationships just from having them on the show, getting to know each other. Have you noticed that as one of the benefits too, the depth of the relationships you create?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. My circle of influence has expanded exponentially since 2009, since I started podcasting. So, yeah, without question.
Yeah, and for me also, I've always wanted to be an amplifier of women's voices, as you know, and as you do also. So for me, having a podcast, mine is guest oriented. I know some podcasts aren't, but in my case, it is. I love amplifying the voices of other women that I believe in. And so for me, it's like that double gift, right? Delivering a message that can change lives, whether it's my message or my guest's message. Podcasting is a powerful way to do that.
It sure is. And you get to not only enjoy the conversation that you're having, but then you get to share it with everybody that you publish it to. So it's a win-win in that regard for sure.
So why don't we dive in? What are
Yeah.
7 steps? If you guys are going to see me taking notes, I'm always taking notes for these episodes because I learn something from every single guest. So if you see me looking down, that's why. So Shann, dive in.
Yes, I will. So, step one is to create a podcast strategy and format. And I bring that first because oftentimes we get really excited about a project that we want to create, like a podcast, and we want to just jump in both feet without a plan or with maybe the idea, a title, but not really sitting down and strategizing. And as you know, Linda, strategy and planning is the key to building a beautiful foundation for anything that you're creating. And it's the same for a podcast. So we want to dig into who is your audience? Who is it that you'd like to reach with your message? What is your message? And how do you plan to reach this audience? Will it be with interview style podcasting? Will it be with teaching podcasting? Will it be storytelling or a combination of all of the above? These are things that you want to really sit down and figure out before you move forward. What is this going to look like? What is my intention? And then, of course, how often do you want to show up? Because not everybody has the time to show up weekly for a podcast. They might only want to do every other week, or they might want to do one a month. It's whatever works for you. Now, obviously, you're going to grow your podcast following quicker the more episodes you offer, but know that there is flexibility there. And I've worked with a number of clients who started out producing shows every other week and then grew their podcast into a weekly offering. The other part of this podcast strategy and formatting is you don't have to actually sit down every single week and record. You can do these in advance. You can schedule these, you can get them on your calendar like you do, Linda, and record multiple episodes in one sitting and cover yourself a month at a time. I have a client who does quarterly podcasting. She gets all of her podcasts done for 3 months at a time. So know that you can do that too. And that's a really judicious way to use your time and to really be mindful of what it is that you're wanting to share. Is there going to be a series, a specific topic? What's that going to look like? And then who's going to join you for those conversations?
I love that. And I think that's an important key because that's one of the things I hear from clients and peers of, I don't have time for what I'm doing now.
Right.
And I'm like, but it doesn't have to be stressful. I'm a bachelor, as you know.
Yeah.
So I love to do it that way. And I love the other piece of guidance is you don't have to start with once a week.
Yeah, you don't. You don't. And that's the beauty of podcasting is there's so much flexibility built in. And so with this strong base, this format and strategy, that will launch you to the next steps. And step two is really big for tech shy entrepreneurs and solopreneurs. They're like, oh my goodness, how do I set up my recording studio? And I say studio lightly, but that's really what it is. You want to make sure that you're choosing the right equipment, that you have the software that you need, that you have the ability to record a very clean recording and things like that. And one of the things I love doing is helping make that process as easy as possible. And really, all you need to get started with the podcast is a computer, a microphone, and editing software. And if you have a Macintosh, the recording software is built right in. If you have a PC, you can easily download a program called Audacity, which is also fairly easy to learn, and they have great tutorials. They have really done their work to make it easy for podcasters to get up and running. And that's it. It's that simple. Chances are you already have a computer and the software is free. So then it becomes investing in a decent microphone, and you can get a good microphone for around $100, $150, and you're off to the races.
Yeah. And it's so convenient, so easy. I can do it from just about anywhere. I mean, of course, we want the sound, but if I'm on vacation and I have some tapings coming up, my computer's with me, I can get it done.
Yeah.
That's the flexibility I love.
Yeah, it's really, really great. And the thing is, once you learn how to set up the space that you're recording in, uh, for the quietest, you want quiet, you do, and you want a room that's kind of small, and you want to make sure your surfaces are covered. That if you have carpet on the floor, if you have curtains, if you have anything to deaden the sound, because you've heard recordings before where the sound is kind of tinny, or you sound like you're in a tunnel, or it's bouncing all over the room. These are things that I help people set up so that they have a nice clean sound. I have clients who record in their bedrooms. I have clients who have converted walk-in closets to use for their podcasts. Some who just sit on the floor in their closets and record. And then of course others who have a nice cozy space anyway and just set things up beautifully. So this is another piece, setting things up, being mindful of the sound, knowing that when you record, you want to make sure that kitties and dogs and kids and spouses and lawnmowers and all those things have been addressed to, and certainly things happen outside. Sometimes the village is doing leaf removal or doing something, and I just have to be okay with the fact that there's going to be a little bit of sound. But the microphone I use is noise canceling. And so usually, even though I can hear it sitting here, you can't when I'm recording.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and in my free gift, I make recommendations for the software, for the microphones, for all of that kind of good stuff.
I'll tell you, I'm loving this. I'm already up to my notes. And what's the next steps, Shann?
The next step is learning how to edit your audio or hiring an editor or producer. And I realize that editing might seem daunting at first, but I assure you, if you want to do it yourself, you can get it done with a minimal amount of practice. And usually what that means, you guys, is just recording your open to your show and then moving through your outline and then closing your show, right? So you might have an interview that you've recorded on Zoom. And then you might have an open and close of your show. We call those podcast bumpers, or the intro and outro, that you recorded in Audacity or in GarageBand, let's say. And what you're going to do is you're just going to marry those clips together. You're going to copy, it's like copy and pasting into the editor. Okay, step 1 is the intro. Step 2 is the actual conversation or interview. Step 3 is the close. And then you just squeeze those together, kind of like a puzzle. You listen to make sure that it's clean and adjust your sound, etc. And you will get good at it, I promise. I mean, at first it's like, oh my goodness. Or you can hire somebody like me, and you just get me, you get me the raw assets, and I produce it for you and make it really easy. And I still do that quite affordably for my clients because I'm not editing every single word. I'm available to do that. But most podcasters are not cleaning up every single so, click, etc. Certainly if there's something really distracting, we want to get rid of it. But just know that it doesn't have to be perfect. It's that intention that you set and showing up and doing your best. And so, yes, if you want something highly produced, you can have that, but it doesn't have to be as highly produced as you might think it does.
I love that tip because I love the authenticity. I have my little quirks. If I say and or when I'm doing my show, I let it go. If I go into a coughing fit, of course, I call Shann, like, you have to cut this part. But other than that, Shann makes it so easy. I just am fully present, intentional, as you said. I do my show, and Shann does my production, which is dropping in all my commercials, my bumpers, as she shared. And for me, that was powerful to have someone do that. It was one less thing that I had to worry about. But I love what you said, Shann. They can do it themselves if they're just starting out,
Yeah.
and learn it And then as they grow, if they want something, but they have the choice, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, and also I'm available to teach you how to do it.
Yeah,
Even if you don't hire me for anything else and you want to learn how to edit, we can work something out and I can help you do that. So
yeah,
know that's available too. But everything is available online. So it's just a matter of, is that something I'm interested in? Most of my clients are tech shy. Most of them are not. They want to know what they need to know how to do it, and then pass the baton if they can.
yeah. It's why, especially if you're an established entrepreneur, you want to pass the baton to someone else because you want to be working on other things. But
Right.
when we're first starting our podcast, especially if we're an emerging entrepreneur or something, I'm so glad that you shared this step, because I don't want them thinking they can't do it because they may not be able to bring someone on to help with editing.
Yeah.
Shann can still assist you. You book a coaching session with her, she'll walk you through the editing process so that you feel empowered. It's such a gift.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, thank you.
you're welcome.
So, moving right on to step 4, you want to choose a podcast hosting service or media host. And there are a number of hosting services on the market that you can partner with for a small investment annually. And those are like Podbean or Libsyn or Spreaker or Bluehost. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I've worked with Podbean for years, since 2009. I think I pay $108 a year for unlimited access and data. And what I want to explain about that host is, think of it as a giant filing cabinet. Does anyone remember filing cabinet? Or folder where everything lives. All of your artwork is there. All of your episodes are there, raw and finished. Everything about your podcast lives on this host. So then you're not carrying all of those files on your hard drive, because let me tell you, these files are big. And if you're doing video, they're even bigger. And so we want to have all of that located on a media host. And again, that's part of what I teach people. I teach them how to use the host, what that's all about, because this is the host that creates a podcast feed, and then that feed is published to places like Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and the list goes on.
It's a great tip. That's a great tip. And knowing that they have someone to turn to get that information, because I didn't have to learn all that because I have own times that
Yeah,
uploads, but I think it's so important if you can keep it in-house and do it yourself too, is powerful.
yeah,
So I'm
it
loving
is.
these strategies, my friend, and for all the entrepreneurs listening, I know your notes are going down too, because I believe you all have a dream in your heart to expand your message. That's why you're here. That's why you're at the Amplify Summit. It's all about amplifying your message, your sales, your visibility, and your voice. So Shann, continue on, please.
I will. Step 5, it gets very exciting because this is when you actually record and edit your first episode. And again, this is something I'd like you to make uh, a very sacred practice. This is you quiet your space. I always clear my space uh, with a little smudge. I light a candle. I say a prayer, just for the greatest good to come from the conversations and the teachings. I have an outline created for each and every show. It's not word by word, note by note. It's just an outline to keep me on track and to stay within the guidelines of the timing that I recommend, which is trying to stick to the 30-minute mark, especially if you have an interview. I know you can go longer. I know you want to go longer, but I recommend that if you do choose to go longer, you create a series where you take a break at about the 30-minute mark and then start again like you're starting a new show. That's just a little hint for that kind of thing. This is where you are ready, you take a deep breath, you always have a glass of water, hopefully room temperature, or a cup of tea, something in case you get a tickle in your throat that you've got water.
I found
Um, yeah. And then you hit that record button And I always, just so you know, I always write record in red on top of my notes or on my computer screen. If I'm using a text edit note, I put record in huge font in red because I have absolutely done an entire interview without recording before. And it is the biggest bummer to realize that that's happened because you get caught up in the moment and all of the excitement. And if you don't have that automatic recording set up, you might not realize it. So that's just another helpful hint before you record and edit your first episode.
And I can
Once
relate
it's,
to that. It has happened to me too. And even for
yeah,
the series, I'm like, hit record. And just reminders on the settings because you just get into that habit. So great tip on there too. Another great tip.
oh, thank you. And then, of course, from there, you edit your piece. And in the beginning, I want you to listen to every single episode. Listen to it. Make sure it's clean. If it sounds good to you, it's probably good to go. If you're hearing something funky, there are all kinds of ways that you can clean up audio. And again, those are things that I know how to do that with ease and grace. That's something, even if you were to shoot me an email, hey Shann, this is happening. Do you know why, or do you have any suggestions? I'll answer you and let you know what you can do, or I can jump in and take care of it for you. I've had to do that for Linda in the past where she's had a wonderful guest whose voice is really, really soft. And it's not a good balance between Linda's voice and the guest voice. And then I'm able to bring that up, balance it out, and nobody's the wiser. And they get a great conversation. So it's just things like that I know just because of the amount of time I've been involved doing this.
Yeah, that was a big help because of course, as I'm speaking to the person, I'm not hearing the voice quality, but the recording picked up the voice quality. She was soft spoken, but
Yeah,
I would have, if I didn't have Shann's expertise, on my team, I would have had to toss that
yeah,
interview because it would have been too disconcerting for someone to listen to.
right.
That was another gift. Shann saved that one because it was a powerful interview, and she's a beautiful soul. And I was like, "You can do that?" She goes, "Oh yes." I was like, "She's the magical mama of podcasting." I don't know how she did it, but it was amazing. So thank you, my friend.
Oh, you're welcome. And the same goes for if you have somebody that's speaking really loud and then again and you can lower their voice and if you do interviews in Zoom there's the opportunity to record two audio tracks and you always want to do that. That way an editor like me can go in and lower or lift one voice or the other and then balance them out versus having just one track. But I'm getting a little too far into that
Becky.
piece. So, step number 6 is marketing and promotion. This is huge, you guys. If you're going to produce a podcast, you need to let people know about it. You have to consistently share your podcast. Every single episode, episodes from your archives, from your library. You want to keep your podcasts out in front through your newsletter, through your subscribers, through your social media circles, through your private Facebook groups, and you want to continually show up. And again, you have a format. You're letting them know there's a new podcast. You're letting them know there's a title. You're sharing the brief description. You're letting them know where they can listen in. This is huge. And I cannot tell you how many people produce podcasts and just kind of share it once and then they're done.
Mhm.
And no, we want to have, if you have a podcast, we want a newsletter going out about that episode and what's involved. And then at that time, you can tie it into your other offerings. You might have a series, a special offer, something else that goes along with that podcast. You want to make sure that people are engaged, that they're following you, that they're rating and reviewing. There's always something to talk about, to engage your audience about with your podcast, whether it's what is a podcast, to what they can expect when they listen in, why they want to follow versus just kind of hit or miss, all of those kinds of things. Please, please, please market and promote. And when you interview people, make sure that you have an agreement with them before you press record that they're also going to promote the conversation.
Yeah, that's key because I have the feminine collaborative marketing and business model. And every guest, when they submit their form, it says, we embrace the feminine collaborative marketing model. Since you're interested in being a guest, I'm sure you'd commit to sharing it on your email and social media. And we created a beautiful promo center that every guest gets. And I got to say, 95% of the women that I call in for guests, they're beyond happy. And because I make it easy breezy for them by giving them pre-written promos, all this,
Yeah,
they're so grateful because they're doing it for visibility. And when they know the host as well as themselves are marketing, it feels good.
it does. It really does. And then step 7, dun 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 dun, monetize your podcast. And there are a number of ways to monetize, but the amount of time we have, I'll talk about 3. You can promote your own offerings. You can promote your own online courses, your coaching, your products, whatever it might be. That can be what you promote. You can create a mini promo right within your show. You can hire someone like me to do voiceover for professional advertising. You can have it be your call to action at the end. This is where you're going to really see an increase in sales. Very, very easy breezy by just continuing to show up and to promote what it is you already have out and about in the world and bringing people back to it. You
I
can
love
also,
that too, because like I will change what I say at the beginning depending if we have something going on.
yeah,
But I had a question yesterday. A woman in my circle said, Lynn, I'm wondering how to monetize my podcast, but I don't have many listeners yet because maybe she's had 200 downloads, even though she's had,
right.
I think, of 25 episodes. And I, wasn't sure how to answer that. So I'd love for you to do it. Do they have to wait to a certain amount of downloads aside from announcing their own stuff? We're not talking about that. She was interested in selling ads on her show. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you're good. That's probably one of.
Yeah. Well, it always puts a big smile on my face because I appreciate the interest in doing so because I do realize that creating a podcast is work. It's time, it's energy, and it's important that you can monetize it. But in the beginning, I need you to take a beat and I need you to get some experience and grow your audience before you reach out to sell internal advertisements. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes you have a particular niche that fits perfectly with a company or somebody who's like, oh, you know what, that would be a really good fit for me. And so even if they only reach 50 people per episode, those 50 people are my people. But if in the world of pricing, and again, you can do whatever you wish, but the rule is about $20 per 1,000 downloads. So if you don't have 1,000 downloads, you don't have $20. And that's reaching out to people who are, like people that I work with for Anxiety Slayer. BetterHelp has minimums, and we reach those because we have the plenty of downloads to get their message across. But they're buying all across the country. That's a different kind of advertiser that you're working. You can work with small businesses and set your price and say, here's what I'm going to give you. This is my devotion to you. This is what I'm asking for in return, and then figure out what that looks like. I will mention that I also do podcast audits because oftentimes podcasters will get started, they'll do the song and dance, and they'll get to a point where why am I only reaching, or why are my downloads, or what am I? And then I go through and I look at everything. I look at the artwork, I look at the music, I look at the content, I look at where you're sharing it, your marketing, and all that. And then I come back and make recommendations. So in the beginning, be patient, set your foundation, continue to show up, celebrate every single listener, and you will watch and watch things grow. And then you can get real creative with your advertising. And the other way that you can make money is to create a Patreon. And we've done that for Anxiety Slayer. And we bring in a nice amount every single month from patrons who love our work, who want behind the scenes conversations and information, who want a catalog of all of our guided relaxations, or want information on Ayurveda or all the different things that we cover in Anxiety Slayer. And they just show up and they make that. And it's so nice because basically our Patreon covers our overhead. How awesome is that?
That's amazing.
Yeah,
And it's like,
so
you're being of service and it's like an energy exchange.
it is. It is. It's beautiful. So those are the 7 steps. I'll just run through the headlines of those one more time.
Yes, please.
Create a podcast strategy and format. Set up your recording studio and choose your equipment. Choose a podcast hosting service. Record and edit your first episode. So much fun. Market and promote, and then monetize. And you've got this, and you can do all of this in 30 days or less.
You really can. I'm going to tell everyone. And I want to say, Shann has an amazing gift right down below. So if you've been getting all these little tingles going, oh, I've been wanting to do this, I've been wanting to do this, and this is your sign. This conversation sitting here with us right now is your sign, and Shann is your support. So at least start by downloading the free gift down below, which is called Podcast Curious. Want to create a podcast? And Shann, let them know what they'll learn and receive in your free offering.
Sure, sure. This is a how to create a podcast recording studio is basically what this is. So it goes through absolutely everything that you need to get started. And then I also offer a free 15-minute consultation as well. So I hope you'll take advantage of that. And what happens here is just kind of a reiteration of what Linda and I talked about today, why it can help grow your business, why podcasting is something that's much easier than you might think, and all of the steps that you need, including the equipment, including all of those little, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? All of those things are in this free report, along with access to me for that free consultation.
Thank you, my friend. And ladies, it is time to amplify your voice. I can't wait to listen to your podcast. So Shann, as always, thank you so much. And for everyone, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.